Cheshire. Now, Professor José Antonio Gutiérrez from the University of Extremadura is going to deliver 2 speeches, defense methodology, in order to establish the improvement in social cohesion owing to the implementation of new railway infrastructures, the case of the peninsula, the Iberian Peninsula. Just a second. Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank the previous speaker because some of the questions I was going to mention were already mentioned by him, so I'm going to progress. I'm going to present 2 different cases of the geographical information system as software libre, as open software through gvSIG, and also an integrated package. I think this is very important and very interesting in order to better understand the transport infrastructures. Please, if I exceed my time, please let me know. First of all, according to the plan of infrastructure, transport and dwelling in the plan from 2012 to 2024, this plan tries to promote important opportunities for the social and economic development of Spain, based on the implementation of those infrastructures together with the high-speed train and the road network, which are now in operation. The general objective is to offer a methodology in order to assess whether this really takes place. We want to know if in those places in which social cohesion is weak, this is continue to be weak even if we improve infrastructure. So we are trying to establish an index in order to define this accessibility. Thank you to my colleague that made a wonderful definition. So now we're going to see what is the improvement of social cohesion in Spanish municipalities, improving accessibility. Assessing the degree of improvement of accessibility at the same time that we verify the existing relationship, whether I'm more accessible to the Centers for Economic Activity of the Iberian Peninsula will allow me to have a better social cohesion. So we want to see how those villages and those towns which have bad social and economic indicators, whether this can be improved. That means the social cohesion can be improved through the improvement of those infrastructures. The PITP has as an objective to form a network that connects through high-speed trains all the provincial non-insular capitals of the country. So this is our area of expertise and work. We have used as a methodology the R statistic pack and the analysis extension of the gvSIG. Phase 1 is the design of the base cartography, which are the data with which we're going to work. We're going to work with a transport system through lines representing the roads and the railway. These are intermodal systems. I must say that intermodal systems are not prepared for this kind of applications, but we think that we were able to do a replica of the intermodal systems using dummy links, applying cost to the stations and the connection of the systems of the road transport systems and the railway transport system, increasing the impedance of those connections, and the yields were acceptable if compared to other types of software specific of network analysis used for intermodal. intermodal transport systems. We also have some population, some population areas which are represented as dots. The peninsular Spanish municipalities are represented by polygons. We'll have theme maps about the reality that we want to analyze, and they analyze the population, the vehicles per motor, the rate of unemployment, dependence, a series of variables, economic variable, if you want to call them so, that allow us to determine and establish this level of development. For the generation of the topology, that can be done directly through gvSIG. You know that we should do some links between the road networks and the railway networks in order for this to operate, and we should be careful with the question of impedance so that the system optimizes those times in accordance with the origin destination matrix, and this would be a calculation of the origin destination taking into account this point and the activity centers of the Peninsula Iberica. So we are going to prepare this taking into account this impedance that I mentioned before. The next step is the classification of municipalities according to their development degree. This was done through algorithm based in monary artificial networks. With this classification made us go directly to independent component analysis, and these are systems that are used up to now, especially in the treatment of image as the vector. Secondly, an analysis between the variables is done, and the correlation between the different variables is established in order to know if there is a high level of correlation or not, and then we go and do an analysis of main components or core components. And this analysis is going to be used in order to establish the number of variables in order to obtain an 85% of the original variance of the variables with which we are going to work. Then we go to the analysis of components. Although an analysis similar to the previous one will allow us to have a higher level of access to data, as far as I'm not compressing the variance, but these data, which are originally with me and which are transformed into new data, are as different as possible between each other. That means that they have a very high degree of correlation, and whenever I have I'll have the information that I'm collecting, which if not is diluted into many core elements. Then we are going to see which is the value of each one of the components, how a component can mean employment or another can be directly related to the population devoted to the building sector or to the primary sector. These are important questions. We do not have time to analyze them, and it's not the best time to do that. And then we'll go to the classification of those components, applying the model of self-organization map. This classification will allow us to have 3 levels of municipalities. Some of them lag behind and others not. This is the classification that we do, and this has been done through here we have the process And we should say that the implementation of this classification directly handling are, you know, that you can do that through sextant and gvSIG. Then we can prepare some charts. For instance, a chart diagram in boxes in order to see the distribution of a variable, and that help us a lot in order to interpret the first analysis with it. And here we have a map of municipalities. In red we have the municipalities we can be considered as lag behind. In yellow, potentially lag behind, and green are not lag behind municipalities or towns. In phase 3, once we have classified the municipalities according to their accessibility level, then that means we have activity nucleus. And I have the time that each one needs to reach that center of activity. And for us, the importance is assigned to the population of those towns, taking into account the time they need. And this is the impedance through the network. This is a network that has been previously established with the road mode and the railway mode. Due to the conditions I mentioned before, this allows us to classify this, and we are able to relate it. And this is a classification of the municipalities depending on their difficulty of association. And these are the four stages, the four stages of this. Obviously, where we have the big agglomerations, we have very positive values. When we leave Extremadura and Galicia, we see that there is a significant relationship, but this is the present status, and we can vary or not vary this connectivity, this accessibility, and this will lead to the implementation of these new infrastructures in some cases. When classifying the data, we are not so different from them. This is done in order to calculate the weighting value of each region, and for that we have done a classification of the municipalities in function of their social cohesion and depending on the degree of access that we have. And this is the factor for social cohesion. This is the factor that has been defined in the table. And here we have accessibility. Future accessibility less present accessibility divided by real accessibility multiplied by 100, and we have this factor as a result which tell us whether there is an improvement or a worsening of social cohesion. And here I could expand a little bit more. So how am I going in terms of time? 8 minutes, that's okay. Well, we can classify the municipalities in not lag behind municipalities if the value is lower than the average, lag behind or potentially lag behind municipality if the value is above the average, and not lag behind if the CS value calculated is lower and the municipality. This classification allows us to directly represent the effect that this improvement on the social cohesion, and we see that there are areas which are in red, in which the effects of the not lag behind municipalities do not mean anything, and they can have an incidence in a negative way, as you see here in red. You see a red, and these are those which instead of improving, they worsen. And this is the presentation. This has been an express presentation, and then I'm going to go directly to the next one. I will give you the applause at the end of it. I'll try to, knowing that I have some more time to do that.